This video is brought to you by YTAndrewPaul Tech Repairs. If you have a console, laptop, computer or Macbook in need of repair in the UK or the EU, then have a look in the description below this video for details on how to contact us in order to organise your repair. Alright, hello there ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to today's video. And today we're going to be taking a look at this Xbox One X. And this particular Xbox One X has a fairly interesting issue. Now, it was sent up by a guy who I've been talking to a fair old bit, and he actually, I'm sure he said he picked this Xbox One X up for the princely sum of 50 quid. 50 quid! I tell you what, I wish I'd seen the auction or whatever he got that from, because I'd have been all over that for 50 quid, but yeah, so cracking by. On job is it don't work. But anyway, so he's actually got a really interesting project lined up for this one as well. Now, I don't know if the guy does YouTube or if he has a blog anywhere, but it would be really cool to see this because he's actually going to end up water cooling it. And then I think he's going to integrate it into a PC case with his other machine and water cool them together. Sounds a really cool thing, so it'd be really good to see that. But anyway, so he's not really bothered about the chassis, although it's actually in remarkably good condition. But he says, Xbox One X doesn't display anything, tried hard drives, but nothing. Had to get replacement screws and hard drive is fixed to the metal casing. The connector for sync and USB at front has been broken, but not bothered about that at the moment. So, let's just take a look then and see what we can see. So, we don't know what's causing this as of yet. It does have a rather interesting symptom. So let's go and take a look and see just what it does. So we're going to try, as always, when we get something like this, the first thing I try and do is boot it into safe mode, into the troubleshooting menu. So to do that, we press and hold eject and sync, we press the power, and we're waiting for secondary power up tone after around 10 seconds. It should have bunged by now. It should have bunged by now. It should have bunged by now, but it hasn't. Okay, so it isn't doing anything at the moment. And you can bet your backside it ain't going to do what it was doing to me earlier now either. It isn't even going to do what it was doing to me earlier. But anyway, yes, so we have no bong, so we're not getting into the troubleshooter at all. Can we power it down? We can't power it down either. Okay, so there's definitely some hard disk related issues with this machine. So I'm just going to pull the power out again. I'm just going to try and start it normally this time and just see what it does, if anything. Oh, bloody hell. Let's just see if this will do what it was doing to me earlier. Again, probably not. No. No, it isn't going to do anything, is it? It's not. Anyway, what it was doing is, with that monitor, when it sees a signal, it will sync to black. So the little red LED on the bottom corner there will just light solid red. And then when it loses signal or you turn something off, it comes up with a box in the middle saying HDMI, in our case HDMI 1, no signal or input detected. And what this one was doing was it was pulsing in and out. So you get black and solid red light, then it'd say it'd lost the connection. Then it'd go black screen, solid light, and then it'd just keep looping around like that. Now I can't get into the troubleshooter menu, and I couldn't get into the troubleshooter menu before. So that at least has stayed constant. So there's definitely some hard disk related issues on this machine. But the display, albeit it's not doing it now, it's not getting any form of sync whatsoever. Oh, hang on. Well, it's taken it a while, but hey. Okay, let's see what it does now. So no signal. Is it going to sync again? So let's just leave it a second, see what it does. No, no, it's not doing anything. Okay, so it was sort of pulsing in and out with sync. So there's definitely something weird going on here, and I'm not convinced it's all hard disk related. There's definitely a hard disk related problem on this machine, but I'm not convinced that's the only fault it's got, because that sync problem shouldn't be doing that. It should basically just stay solid sync with a black screen, and if the hard drive is defunct or the files on it are corrupt or whatever else, then what will happen is it'll just sit black, but you will at least get sync and black display. This one's doing some really weird sync problems, and it's not doing it on camera, is it? Because it would just make me out to be a fib. But I can assure you that's what it was doing, and as you can see, it's certainly not happy. So the first thing we need to do is get that hard drive sorted out, or at least try and get it to boot into the troubleshooting menu so we can have a look and see what's going on. So what we're going to do is we'll get the hard disk out, we'll hook it up to the computer, we'll see what we've got, and we'll take it from there. So I'll see you guys and girls in a sec. Right, okay then, ladies and gentlemen, so we can see here that we just plugged the hard drive into our machine here, and we do have a couple of files, it's fair to say. So we're just going to shut some of these other windows down in a second, and we can see just what we've got. But here's our problem, because we've got U, temporary content, we've got V, user content, we've got W, we've got X, system update, and system update 2. Now these are completely blank, and they shouldn't be. These should be populated with the last system update, and there isn't any. So these other files have literally just been created off the fact the drive has just been inserted into the machine, but without any preparation. So those are just files that the Xbox will create when the drive is initialized. But we need something on here, and we don't have anything. So that's going to be a big part of why our machine isn't going to work. Now, if you actually want to see how we prepare a hard drive for use in an Xbox, if you check the description below, we've put a video in there which will show you everything you need to know to be able to do that. Here we're just going to whip through it. So if you want to see an exact tutorial of what we're doing here, then just have a look at that video in the description. That will show you everything you need to know to be able to do this. But this is using the latest version of the Xbox One Drive script. So the script has changed slightly. Now on that video in the description, there is a link to the older script. So what you see, if you use the downloads on the description of that video, what you'll see is on the video is exactly what you'll see on your machine. If, however, you are using the later Create Xbox script, which is version 6.1, I do believe we're up to now, then you will see what we've got here. So if you do find the new version of the script, then if you follow the biggest part of what's on the other video, but for the actual Create Xbox One script batch file that you have to run, this is what you'll get instead. So we want to use option A, replace upgrade without a working original drive. So we just put A and enter. And this is a 1 terabyte hard disk. It is indeed. And I do believe that we are on disk 2, I think, but I'm going to check it. I'm not going to guess. Disk management. And we are on, yeah, disk 2. Disk 2, 931 gig. So disk 2. Okay, so it's going to go away and it's going to list the partitions we have on there. It says it's going to erase all that, so we're going to say yes, do it. Select the partition layout. Well, it's a 1 terabyte disk, so we're going to go for 1 terabyte standard. And this is now going to go away, and it's going to do everything. Okay, so it's going to flash loads of windows up at you. We're not interested in that. Just let it do it. Don't touch anything. So we're not going to touch anything. We're not going to click anything. We're not going to close any windows. We're not doing anything. We're just going to let it do what it needs to do. So the partitions were already present, of course, on that disk, but obviously we don't know what or how it's being done, whether it's been done right. So we're just going to get rid of everything and start again. Okay, so all sorts of stuff's going to be going on in the background. We're just ignoring that for the time being. command new partitions with the GUIDs. Okay, so we're going to press any key to continue. Right, okay, excellent. So we're just going to exit the script. And we are going to copy everything we need now. Back to our hard disk. So we're going to go down to our system update drive. I'm going to create a folder in there called A. In fact, what we're going to do is we're not going to extract the whole of that folder. We're going to extract the files themselves to our A folder on the X drive. Okay, so that's going to go away and do that. Now, if you're using a USB 3 USB to SATA adapter, this is actually not going to take too long at all. It's actually going to be fairly quick. So, well, as quick as a 5400 RPM spinning disk is going to be. At least I think they're 5400 RPM in the X's. I'm fairly sure they are. Don't think they're anything special. ST1000LM035 apparently. Seagate mobile hard disk drive 1 terabyte. I don't even know if that's that may not even be the original disc. They're usually Firecuda's. Firecuda Gaming by default in the 1X. Seagate Firecuda Gaming 1 terabyte disc is usually the default option in the 1X. So this is probably being replaced, or the other one's been nicked, and this is one that Steven's put in himself. So we'll just wait for this to finish. It won't take it long. At least I don't think it will take it long. So let's just take a look here. Okay, that'll do. And then the boot animations for the 1X. We're going to copy to that same folder on our X drive. Lovely. And then we're going to take updated.xvd and we're going to cut that and we're going to paste it in the root of our X drive. Okay. And then finally, we're going to copy our A folder and we're going to paste it to create a secondary copy again on our X drive. And it's ignoring me, which is great. Do it the old-fashioned way then. Control-C, Control-V isn't going to work for us today. Okay, so that's just going to go away and do everything we need it to do. Now then, at this point, with this setup, basically, once we've finished here, we should be able to put the disk back into the machine and we should be able to get it to boot to a troubleshooting screen. We should be at least be afforded that luxury from the machine, of course. If we see something on the display, then we can go ahead and try and install the system software and we can see where that leaves us. If, of course, we still have blank screen or funny sync, then, of course, we can look a little bit further into something going on the main board. I'm just having a quick eyeball of the main board, actually, while the hard disk is out and the chassis is just in front of me. So we're nearly done here. Nearly done. Okay, so once that's copied, we're going to rename our A copy folder. We're going to rename it B and enter, and that's it. So our hard drive is now prepared to go back in our Xbox, and we can see then what, if anything, is going to do differently. So let's fire this back up, let's put it back in the chassis, see what it does, and we'll go from there. So join us in a second, boys and girls, back on the test bench, and see what we get. Alright, okay, ladies and gentlemen, so we've got the hard drive prepared now, and it should afford us to boot into safe mode now, at the very least. So let's see what will happen when we try that. And there's still no beep for safe mode. No. The eject button actually doesn't work. The eject button isn't actually doing anything. That could be a problem. So if the machine doesn't eject, or the eject button doesn't respond, we've no way of getting this into recovery mode anyway. Why doesn't eject work? That's the question. Do you know nothing like this ever happens on a machine when I have time to look at these things, does it? It always happens when I don't have time to look at machines like this. Alright, okay, well there's nothing we can do about that apart from try to find out why our eject button doesn't work. So, well, we'll have a look. Alright, okay, ladies and gentlemen, so remember what we said in that email. Oh, sorry, in the email. Remember what we had in the letter earlier? When we said the eject button. In fact, where's the note? Where is the note? I don't know what I've done with the note. It's over there. I'll bugger it. But he said that the eject button. Sorry, he said that the front USB port doesn't work, and he's not too bothered about fixing that for the moment. He may have to be, unfortunately. Now, the reason I say that is because, I mean, this is only the second Xbox One X I've ever had open. And here's the thing. Because what happens is that this essentially is the assembly for the front USB port. So you can see here you have the USB port itself, okay, and it's on this ribbon. It's on this little ribbon here, and the autofocus on the camera is playing holy bloody hell. But anyway, so you can see here, there's a connector. And that connector has loads of pads stuck to it because it's broken. This bit here you can see should be on the motherboard. Yes, somebody's broken the connector off. Now, the problem with that is that that's why the USB port doesn't work. But look at this here, this little switch, just here, little push switch. You see that? Do you know what that is? That's the eject button. So we need that eject button to work to be able to get this into recovery mode, so we can try and see if we can get an OS on it. Without that, we may very well be screwed. So this connector is going to have to be repaired one way or the other. Or at least the pins for eject are going to have to be repaired one way or the other. There's no real way around it, unfortunately. So we're going to get this underneath the microscope and we'll take a look. Alright, okay, ladies and gentlemen, so this is our connector in question, and as you can see there's loads of red bits stuck to some of the pins. Those red bits used to be where the pads were on the Xbox motherboard that this connector would mount to. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 pads missing. So that's why the USB doesn't work, because the likelihood is, well, none of these pads are connected, obviously, the whole connector's come off. So that's why the USB doesn't work, but it's also why our eject button doesn't work, because it's passed over the same connector. So we're just going to try and gently pop this connector off, because we don't want to do any further damage to the assembly itself. So that side of the connector is fine. So we're just going to pop this other end of the connector to one side for a second, and we're going to see which pins on here correspond to our eject button. So we can at least get the eject button working. There's 2 USB ports on the rear. I'm not too concerned about those. What I am concerned with is the eject button. So all we need to do for that is we're going to put one multimeter probe. So the multimeter is in continuity mode, and that's the mode where it beeps when the 2 probes are touched together. And what we're going to do is there are 3 pins on this switch. Now it looks like the middle one there just goes into this plane here where the board is. Actually, is it connected to the back side of that filter? This might actually be connected. I was going to dismiss that pin then for a second, but I'm not so sure I can. So this is really awkward underneath here because the cable's attached to it. So my apologies if this moves around a bit, but I'm trying to do my best here to do this under the camera. So let's go for that middle pin to the back side of this filter. And it does. Okay. So it then goes across here, across this filter to this other side. Here. Here. And then they go. Okay, so the outer 2 positions. So basically this pin, this first pin here on the left goes all the way around and connects to this pad here. And then the 3rd pin goes and sits to the other side of this filter as well. So these 2 pins commonly connect to this point here. So these 2 are the same, and this middle one. So the middle one sits on the front side of here. So essentially what we need to do is we need to make sure that this pin here, up this trace, wherever it goes underneath that sticker. Oh, it's not going to be easy for me, is it, this? It isn't going to be easy for me. Because, look, it's underneath all this foamy shit. And then underneath this foamy stuff is this plate. I'm not even going to be able to... I'm going to be able to jump it. I'm just going to have to... Oh, God. Right, okay. So this, yeah, this is going to be a real old pain in the arse. So, I'm going to have to try and find out which pin on the end of this connector. This is all good fun, isn't it? An unscheduled repair attempt here. Okay, so what we're going to do, we're going to put one probe on the end point of this filter. This one. Okay. And then we're going to put the other probe across this connector, and we're going to see which one gives us continuity. Okay, so we're going to do that now. I'm going to try and keep this in focus for you as much as I possibly can. So my apologies if this goes out of focus or it goes out of view for a second, but we're working with the best we can here. That end pin, that bottom pin. Okay. Let's just go down the other side, make sure nothing here is talking. No, so it's this bottom pin. Okay, so as we're looking at it, it's that bottom pin. So, essentially then, I'm just trying to think of the orientation here, but if we take that off. So as I was sat looking at it there, it's this bottom pin. I am going to mark it slightly so we know which corner we're looking at. But essentially it's this corner just there. So I've put a little black dot on it there so we know which corner we can keep track of it. And then we're going to have to find some way of putting that connector. Okay, so this is as it sits in the console. So the eject button's here on the left side, the port is on the bottom side, and the connector comes in and sits over the top. So as the connector sits into the board here, this side up, it is the pin on the back left. So it's the pin, as this is sat on your board, it's the pin in this corner here. the back left corner. So that is the pin we need to repair for eject. Now the question is, do we have that pin in place on our board? I don't know if we do. So I'm going to have to go back to the main board now. Alright, Kaelins, ladies and gentlemen, a predictable disaster this one, but when the connector came off, guess what happened? There literally is nothing you can do with that damage there. You are buggered. So, is there anything we can do though to try and at least, get this thing somewhat working again? Well, good news is yes, we probably can try something to get this working again. But it does mean, unfortunately, that as far as Stephen's project goes, I think he's going to be buggered because unfortunately, you need a sync button to be able to connect controllers to the machine. And you can't really go through life without a sync button. So you are going to need that button permanently connected. And the issue he's going to have is that it isn't really going to be able to be disconnected. So we are going to be able to do something with it, but it's going to be a very permanent solution, unfortunately. So I don't like very permanent solutions as far as doing things like this goes, but in this instance that connector is toast. It's fairly weak as it is, and it does mean that taking this thing apart in future if needs be is going to be awkward. It's going to be a real pain. Sadly, there's nothing I can do about that. If we want to fix this machine, it's just going to be one of those things we're going to have to live with. So I am just going to try and sort something out here with regards to my Stanley blade. Oops. Well, that could have gone better. Yeah, it could have definitely gone better, but as it is, it's got a sharp edge on it. So, well, for now at least. So I'm just going to try and scrape this via back. So pin 2 leads to this via here that we're currently just trying to expose. Okay, so we're just going to work back and forth on this to get to the copper beneath, seeing as we now have no pad for it. So what we're going to do is we're going to be able to convert that up to a wire. Okay, and then we're going to have to run a wire directly from the other board to this point. And whilst not ideal, it is the only way. The only way forward, sadly. So that's pin 2. Ready to at least accept our sync button, which means that his mod is going to certainly be harder than it was. So, not ideal. I hate having to do that. It's not in my sort of makeup to bodge things together, but in this instance we really don't have much choice. That connector is moulard. So at least we're going to be able to do something with that, even if it's not ideal. So let's take a look here then at our HDMI output. And what have we got? So this is our HDMI out port, I do believe. Let's just have a look. TV, here's the one nearest the power connector. Yes, this is the one nearest the power connector. So that is this one, J2. Okay, so let's take a look at J2 and let's see what happens here then. So we have these two protection diodes here, so EMI filters. So let's just measure them in continuity. So we should read top left to bottom left. pin 2 to the one directly below it. The ones in the middle are ground. Then we should have those two and those two. We do. And the same goes for EG4. Okay, we have continuity across all 4 channels, and we don't have any cross continuity between channels, and we have no communication with ground. So yes, that should be fine. That goes into this IC here, TDP158. And yes, so basically looks like we have an issue with our TDP158. So let's take this. The port is indeed in good condition. The port is fine. There's no issues at all with the HDMI port on this machine. No problem at all. So what we're going to do is we're just going to spread some flux around. Okay, and we're going to remove this IC. So we're going to get some hot air, we're going to get some fume extraction. And some tweezers. Multimeters in the bloody way as usual. So we're just going to go and work around this IC here. My apologies if I block your view while I do this, but these 1X boards are incredibly efficient at transferring heat away as well, so you may have to work this back and forth for a short while, but we can just about see there that our pins are starting to go shiny for us. There's a big ground pad underneath here as well, so it's important that we make sure that that is molten. So yeah, this does take a little while to start to reflow, so don't be too impatient with it. It's only just starting to go now for us. Okay, it took a little bit of convincing, but it's finally off, so put that to one side for a second. Okay, so we're going to get a little bit of desolder braid. I'm going to get some more flux here. And I'll tell you what, we'll use the big tip. We'll just be really careful with it. So do be careful of the small components around here. You don't want to go sucking them up or knocking them off. This board is now boiling hot to the touch. Okay, that'll do. So we're just going to go back in. I get a tiny bit of leaded solder now. I'm just going to go around the edge. Aha. And there's always one in there. There's always somebody who makes a mess of the centre pad. Today, that person is me. Right, so TDP 158. And I've managed to split my glove. Honestly. Absolutely blooming useless. I know you're hiding in there. Okay. Right, so we have our chip. Yeah, it's a newbie. Lovely, lovely, lovely. Straight out of the packet. Simply lovely. There it is. Okay, so we're just going to try and flow this into position as best we can. So we've got some leaded solder on here now, so hopefully that'll make this process a little bit simpler. Just going to press down here. Okay, so I'm just going to go check the alignment of what we've got here. So don't worry about the stuff coming out the sides for the moment. But that looks straight. And the other side, probably can't get that under camera. That looks okay as well. So in theory, it should be fine. So what we're going to do is we're just going to tidy up around there now. If we can find it. There it is. Okay, so we're just going to get the fine soldering iron tip back here. Okay. Going to get some flux around the outside edge of our IC here. And we're just going to touch in the edge. Just get rid of those globs. Any sort of... If you end up with bridges, then hopefully you should be able to tease those out with the flux. This is a lot easier if you have a micro soldering pencil. I don't, of course. Because I'm a bit of a silly boy, but... if you're not silly like me, you prefer not to torture yourself, then it might be an idea. Certainly with a smaller tip than what I've got here, I need to go tip hunting, I think, to find a good tip for doing these with for the JBC. I used to have a nice one for the Jovi. It was a J-tip. It was great for doing QFN and things like that. But haven't quite discovered the same for the JBC as yet. So I will find it. I will stop being lazy and I will look. Okay. So we're just going down the edges here. Oh dear. That's bloody awful. Don't know what I was thinking with that. Oh dear. Don't know what I was thinking with that. That's better. Honestly, for a moment there I thought I'd taken leave of my soldering senses. It doesn't look too bad, but you know. Oh. Okay. Let's just make sure the other sides are still good, because I don't like doing half a job. Should be alright, I think. The front side could be better. The front side could be better, I think, so let's do that. The front side could be better. I think it should be alright, but we will just check it before we do anything silly like, you know, plugging it in. Yes, I think unfortunately, what with the eject button the way that it is, I'd be very surprised actually if this board is now suitable for a little project that the owner had planned for it, which is a real shame. Because it sounded like it was going to be a really cool little project, and I would have loved to have seen it, but I'm not sure that's really going to be feasible, what with the state of that eject button. I don't think it's going to lend itself at all well to Sorry, not the eject button, the sync button. I really don't think it's going to lend itself to being taken apart like that, unfortunately. So I'm just going in here now, I'm just cleaning off the last of the flux residue and whatnot. Everything looks flat, everything looks good, it's all in alignment. So let's get this put back in the chassis. Let's get it tested. Well, I'm saying let's get it tested. We've got a job to do before we do any of that. And that job is, I'm just going to nick the eject button out of the front part of the chassis. Right, okay, so our sync button, remember, our sync button was nasty. So, we haven't got much choice other than to run a physical wire between the 2 points. I don't want to do that. I really don't want to do that, but I have to at this point. There's not a lot else I can do. So, to do that, what we're going to do is we are going to use some, if I can find it, should have some kind of wrapping wire here somewhere. Okay, so this stuff is kind of wrapping wire, 30 gauge stuff. It's basically single core wire with a rubber sheath around the outside edge. And there isn't much alternative to this, but well, my wire cutters don't seem to want to strip this stuff for some reason, so I'm going to have to do it myself. It would appear that even my other wire strippers don't want to touch this. Marvellous. Okay. So, I don't really have a lot of choice. I'd rather not do it this way. I'd really rather not do it this way. I wish I could say that I had a magic fix for the connector, but fortunately I don't at this point. So, we're going to go to the front side of that. If it's a filter or a glass fuse or something like that, I'm not entirely certain, but what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to go with the wire to the other side of, if I can find my bloody hand. There we go. And we're just going to have to go and run a length of that up to the other side of the machine, which, like I say, I'm not ecstatic about. I'd rather not do it that way, but in this instance, unfortunately, circumstance dictates. So what we'll do is we'll put everything back in the machine now, we'll get it sorted, and let's give it a test. Right, okay, ladies and gentlemen, so we have everything hooked up again here, and we've put our bodge wire onto the top of our machine, and we'll show you that in a sec. So let's just go show you. So everything's off at the moment. So our bodge wire, we've actually hidden alongside the standard cable. So you can just about see the blue wire there. It goes up and under here. So with the connector not being there, there is enough clearance for it to sneak under. There's some foam padding around the base of it, and this screw is actually done really loosely. So there's no pressure under there. So that should be absolutely fine. Whee! Fall on my backside while I'm doing this. Because of course the phone is connected to the tripod. So anyway, so there we are. So let's see then what we get up here, if anything. Let's power this machine up. let's see what we get. HDMI 1, it's got some sort of input detected. Yeah, there we go. So we have output. We've got E106, which is partially to be expected. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to put a recovery USB stick onto this machine. And then what we can do is we can boot the console from one of the rear USBs by using the troubleshooter access menu control button combination. And then we should be able to actually force a software update on this box. And hopefully then we'll be able to get somewhere with it. So I have my controller with me, but it's out in the car. So this is probably going to be a jump cut while I run and get it. Alright, okay, ladies and gentlemen, so I've come back now because I have the controller. So controller's here. Okay, so if I power this one on and force a sync, okay, and then I'm going to try and sync our Xbox. Oops, controller's given up. So let's see. What the hell happened there? The batteries in this controller are going a little bit flat. Oh shit, that'll be what it is. The batteries have gone flat. No, not now. Why is it doing that? Oh my god. They have finally carked it. Unfortunately, I don't know what that means for this guy's project with this machine, because obviously those two portions of the board are hardwired. There's nothing I can do to actually stop that. So he would have to unsolder the wire to the via, do whatever he wanted to do, and then he'd have to solder it back because it goes over the shielding. There's nothing I can... There's no graceful way of doing it, unfortunately. It just is how it is. So, as unfortunate as it may be, you know, there's only so much you can do. So that may put an end to this guy's project, and it may just have to stay an Xbox One X, which is no bad thing, because, you know, if this was my machine, I'd probably try and trace out the power and data pins for the USB, and I'd just run one big sort of jerry wire across. You know, I'd just get a few more strands of kynar and just run them to the back of the USB port, and you know, it would work, and you'd never know the difference really. It'd be a bit of a pain if you ever had to open it again. I suppose you could put some connectors on there. You could put maybe like a ZIF connector on it or something, so you could separate it, or you know, just a push pin or something like that together, so to hold it in place. Maybe something like a fly lead and a socket from a PS4 power supply, you know, a 5-pin one. Then you could have your 4 USB data pins and the one pin for the sync button. Maybe that would be an option, I suppose, but it's not ideal. But anyway, you know, I mean, we've done what we can do. We've got the sync button working, which is important. The eject button's fine anyway. Power button's obviously working fine. So yeah, it's not great. It's not an optimal thing at all, but in the scenario there's not much else we can do, but at least it's working again, so that's the main thing. So thank you very much for watching, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully you've learned something today. I have, because this is only the second Xbox One X I've been inside. So thank you for watching. Hopefully you've enjoyed this. If you have, if you could leave a massive great big thumbs up and a like down below, that would help me huge.